pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda?
No, I lost it.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public comment. Do we have anybody who wants to speak? Okay.
My name is Sheila Allen, and I apologize, I haven't been around all summer, and you've probably answered all of these questions, but I'm here about the kitchen and what the status is of the kitchen. Was the project contracted out? Is it in-house? Do we have an ETA on completion for it?
I think we have all those things. You want to give just a little brief summary? And then if he doesn't answer enough, then you can contact Mark and he'll fill you in on more details, but he'll give you a brief summary right now.
Thank you.
Yes, it was contracted out. ETA it changes because of it is a 65-year-old plus building that every time we touch one thing, something else falls apart. Original ETA was about another week, but we've had two major problems since that original ETA. Currently, huge plumbing problem. Current ETA, maybe the last of October, 1st of November.
Oh my, that far out.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And is the same contractor doing all the work?
There's a contractor who is subbing out the different pieces of that work to those specialists who does that, whether it's electrical, plumbing, etc. Yeah.
What was the initial date for completion?
Initial was end of September, potentially 1st of October. But this plumbing that came up last week before last, is going to push us 3 weeks to a month.
There was a bunch of stuff in the walls that was unforeseen, right?
Yes. Well, the biggest thing was when we got to that piece, the water had been shut off all summer, so there was not active water in the faucets, etc. And when they went to do their first inspection to get ready to begin the work, there was water underneath in the crawl space, had to be coming from the main line, which then led to other problems. And there are more details, but like I said, if you want to come sit down, I'll be glad to go through all of it with you. It's quite a bit of stuff. Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Consent agenda. Did you have any comments? Do you have any questions on it? We'll need a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Reports. We have Curtis here.
I had this open and now I cannot get it to open.
So we could start with your report, Curtis. Are you planning on giving it or talking about it?
I just had written something, but if you'd like me to speak or answer some questions, I can.
You want to just give us a quick overview since you're here? We'd love that.
Sure. We've had a good start to the year so far when it comes to adding in TK. It was a nice, pleasant addition. My daughter is one of them, so I'm a little biased of that. She's very excited to ride the big buses. We've had kind of a tough rollout with curriculum as the start of the year was rolled out. We've just recently started to get some iReady diagnostic testing going because we had iReady and Amplify, and our TK curriculum was all down and not accessible for the first of the year. When the first start of the students being in school, we did have a couple of things come up this week where we were able to get teachers in to do some iReady diagnostics, to get some benchmarks, to get the initial testing done and see where they were at from where they were last year to this year, things like that. We are going to start to use that data, obviously. We've had a nice, pleasant time getting back into the building, and I think with the addition of TK, the school is packed and it's busy. The playground is full, the cafeteria is full. Overall, I think we are doing the best we can for what we have.
And how many did you end up with for TK?
We currently have 27 enrolled.
27.
Last count, yep.
Joe, how many kids did we have in elementary last year? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head.
323, 321.
323 is correct.
Run that on.
Last count, yeah.
So, is there any way we can access some of that assessment data between the end of school year last year and the beginning of this year? And can you make that available to us in some format so we can kind of get an idea when we start this year?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No.
Okay,
Okay, finally got this to come up.
come up.
Yeah.
Okay, we have the secondary report. Any questions on it? Anything you want to add?
Well, from me, if you guys had time to look at that, her report is in there.
How did all the scheduling go? Did it all work out with?
Yeah, the scheduling is fine. That's I think there are a couple of glitches in Dylan's or where, but it's not for him. It just I think there was some overlap in some elementary scheduling, but high school scheduling, I don't know of any issues. She has also put in, as Lori's been covering the AD role, she's put in here the athletic report as well. Any questions about that?
We have our schedules all laid out, our game schedule.
Oh yeah, they're posted on the
Not on the internet.
they're on the internet. I posted them. They are on the internet. Is that what you said?
Well, they weren't. I've looked every day.
I posted them 2 weeks ago, and I can see
On
them.
the Mossyrock's website?
Yeah.
Where? Or
Yeah.
not under? Oh, I'll show you.
Well,
What's the status on our open position for inquiry on the athletic director?
let me get one thing. Hang on 1 second.
Sure.
Let me find this.
You said there's the athletic schedules?
Yes. Well, everything that's current.
The high school volleyball schedule?
Yes. Mhm.
That's what you get.
What are you?
I think
I think you're looking at a different
I've
I'm
place.
under athletics under high
Go,
school volleyball
just go to
schedule.
events. Just go to events.
Yeah, because it's on the little app.
It's on the little
The
round thing. Yeah.
Vikings app.
If you just go to the main page, because
Right, but if you.
those pieces aren't updated yet. Where you are not updated yet.
Who updates the website?
Stacy and myself.
Okay.
And some post, Mr. McConnell and Ms. Cornier do, but yeah. If you go to the events, the calendar events.
But I don't want to like look at what I want or what I want. I can see events, but like I want to look at the full schedule.
Okay, that's not, I don't have that done
Oh,
yet.
yeah, so you
Yeah,
can't go see
I don't-
everything.
You can't go see everything yet. No, I've not gotten that. Because of the way that's designed, that's a layer down, and I wanted to get out there where everybody could see what was happening immediately.
Okay, superintendent report.
Before I get that, Mitch,
Okay,
ask
you
about,
got it.
it may be on my report, let's see. Can't remember if it is, but Mitch, you asked, the AD role. We've had several people to apply and several to drop out when they realized that it was a part-time or it only paid that much for that piece.
They weren't impressed with that highway?
They were not impressed with the financial gains, no. So it's kind of spun back around and we need
Is it
to
still posted?
regroup. It is still
It remains
posted.
open.
It is still posted, yeah. Looking for mine. Don't see mine. I have in here the data from the high school, which doesn't look great, in case you guys didn't get a chance to see it.
Mark,
What, Laura, what'd you say?
that's one way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not pleasurable to view, but you have a 5-year trend.
That part is the pre-COVID number versus where we are. It's
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
But is that pretty much on track with the entire state and other states as well?
The last time that I looked, it's a little below where, and even on here, it reflects where the state is. You can
Yeah,
see
it shows the state average, and
Yeah.
so we're quite a bit below the
a little
state
below,
average.
below that.
Whereas we used to run right at it or
Right.
above, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're a little behind. So how are the plans coming to make strides?
And there are some in here. They've done some planning. Let me find it. Which one it is?
That one?
What's it labeled?
Data report, probably.
Yeah, that's strengths and weaknesses.
I like Lori's, because I think that one thing that, like for Mitch and so that on that data, the kids have no motivation in high school to try because they know that it doesn't count. So the testing used to mean a little bit more than it does now. So the
And
kids they don't like it, so they can really care less.
That's a discussion
So she
that Lori
put
and
it
I have
out,
had
we
several
saw-
times, and we've had a couple of times, and I think that is a national trend.
She did say that in her report, though, she did write that she was looking at some things to motivate.
motivate.
kids to
Yeah,
reward, so
reward.
that if they
Yeah.
had an improvement from the first one to the next one, so that you could see if they were actually trying, it'd be interesting to see what those numbers are.
Correct. I don't
'Cause I don't
think,
think that's a true, I
no,
mean, I think it's obviously probably down, but I don't think it's that far down.
I agree. It's slipped, but
I
it's,
did overhear my son talking to other kids about
Oh, yeah, they
why I
all
haven't
think
tried,
it's.
they've
just guess all the way through it.
they've figured out that there's no teeth to it at this point, and there's so many pathways. They are very demotivated. Just for conversation, I read an article yesterday of some states that are just saying they're trying to actually move to not even take some of these
Is
standardized
this
tests.
particular testing though that we do, the part that is used at the state to decide on whether or not we're in a plan?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
do we share that part with the kids? Do
I
they
don't-
understand the
I don't think
consequences
so.
of the school? I mean, they are old enough, they can figure
they're
it
old
out.
enough
if we
to,
explain it to
they
them.
need to know, because that might be a motivating factor.
I
of
think it
course.
would be if you were, because you're putting the whole school in
Jeopardy.
when you do that. I don't know that, I wonder if kids hear that when they're,
So
or they understand the importance of it.
instead of teeth, why don't you offer some sugar? Like
Well, I
potentially a day, if scheduling allows, where kids who have improved measurably can do fun things.
Well,
fun
that's what
activities.
she's gonna do.
They are doing that at the high school, and here's the plan. If you haven't read through it, they do have it trying to motivate them. And when I mentioned the teeth, I meant teeth from a state consequential level. It's not going to prevent them from graduating. They will find another way, and therefore they end up and just are not motivated. And again, I'll say this is not just us. I've seen this trend since even before COVID. It's just gotten so bad since COVID.
So I
It
did read
seems
the
out of
report, she
control.
talked about motivating, but she didn't give any ideas.
I will read a report. I will circle
I'm just
back.
curious.
I'll circle back with that.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm just
circle back to her to see what their ideas are on how to motivate.
some innovative,
I mean-
interesting, fun ideas.
But it is a definite challenge for these kids. I don't know if I forgot to save when I threw my enrollment numbers in here. I don't see them.
No, I couldn't find them.
You couldn't find them? I put them in here at the same time I did this. I bet I forgot to hit this little save button.
Yeah, I can find it. either.
Yeah. I did it. I don't know. Maybe I'll find it in a minute. I will try to do it from memory and then circle back if I have a second to look for that. We do have 352 kids in the elementary, and 300. Well, I have to do the math. There are 635 kids total. So minus 352 from the elementary should be about just over 300 at the high school, grade 7 through 12. My memory, or just under that, to whatever that math is. And I don't see. Thank you, buddy. Yeah.
Is that head count?
That's head count. Yeah. And I don't know why I didn't get in there. See if I can find it. Here we go. Don't know how I didn't. Well, I do know I had to not hit save. Here, got to hit the save button. So there we go. There are the numbers. I'll go back and make sure it's in there.
So we have 3 grade school classes over 50 now.
Yep.
Wow.
And a couple others bumping up against it.
Mm-hmm.
And third grade has 3 teachers.
Correct. Sorry, that wasn't saved in there. I did it. I just didn't have it saved.
Okay.
Questions for now on Lori's data or this part of the report?
I think we'd be interested in hearing more on what the plans are
I'll
and whether
get that
there's.
from, get Lori to look back with that. She, of course, tonight was very busy. And in fact, I'm supposed to be on call for this one while she's at the high school. So, because she had actually was going to be here, but these schedules conflicted. So we get her back. Okay. No more questions about that piece?
Nope.
Okay. In my other report, and I kind of asked Dylan if he would come address you guys tonight on the music needs. So since I asked him and he kindly accepted, I would like him to give a report about our music program and what the needs are.
Sure. Well, we're off to a good start this year. We're building on a lot of really solid foundations we laid down last year. Perhaps with the addition of a junior high school band, I'm starting to see some really die-hard developed interest in seeing this grow and move forward, and a real core group of kids and leaders that are interested in seeing that happen. What we have come across this year, however, is a pretty significant shortfall in available instrument inventory. We have serving right now 55 fifth graders, 45 sixth graders, and a junior high school band of 18 students.
That we currently have that are signed up for band.
Correct.
18 in high school. Can you say the other two numbers again?
55 fifth graders and 45 sixth graders. They're just fifth and sixth grade are taking band as part of their music curriculum. Either part or all of their music curriculum. To that end, we have currently out of an instrument fleet of around 100, we have 61 working instruments to serve 118 students.
Have we looked at any grants or anything that are available for the?
For that specific need, no.
I am looking into some grant writing and really digging deep into the resources that I have available to me in terms of my college professors and people that are longstanding in the music education community that are well aware of what's available out there. Grants in the number that would be required to get all of these instruments serviced and workable seem to be pretty few and far between.
That would be good, because people are really excited about getting the band back, and that would be good information for when we do the levy this year too.
Yeah, do it for the levy and also maybe doing the fundraiser. Remember the
Well,
old auction that we used to have through the,
Yeah, the one that we wanted to bring back last
Yeah.
year that we didn't do.
because there's a large community support of bringing the bands back and bringing the music back.
Very large.
Just on a side note, buddy, don't put this in the paper. I'll have to get with you later, but we were, Hampton isn't a mill in Morton, and they're looking for local schools that have needs in the arts and any CTE and music, anything like that. And so that would be somebody that you could reach out to and ask for a donation to. So that would be amazing.
Yeah, I've reached out to a few semi-local nonprofits that work in this space, providing instruments for particularly Title I environments that have a high need.
I think we could get a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, the inventory in those places is pretty sparse as well, and we're sort of behind the eight ball on that one.
So you'll get with them and give them the contact
Yeah.
information to
Yeah,
get that?
you can just use mine and, but we'd love to make a donation to that. The money they need to give away. They
Are
love
there any
that.
rental options, renting instruments?
Yeah, in fact, I brought some of that information along with me. There are music stores locally that will rent. I have given that information to students, and last year we had a handful that rented. Probably not enough to really make the dent that we need to make in terms of putting an instrument in everybody's hand.
But just roughly, what would that estimate be?
I was given
So we
an
can-
estimate for 5 instruments for the year, looking at just under $1,400.
That's the rental?
Yeah.
And we need
50.
50 of them or so? So 10 times that, so 14,000?
Just to rent, yeah.
Yeah,
Not-
just to rent.
Not to
Yeah.
service the existing fleet.
What, can I ask, do you have a ballpark on what it would cost to repair what you have?
I couldn't say for sure, not being a repair tech and every store's gonna have a little bit different price. I can say that these days, a minimum repair looks about $150 or so. And that's just
But didn't-
basically a cleaning.
Didn't you just kind of go through the whole inventory and there was a bunch that were unrepairable?
Yes.
And
there
so
were-
they did do a,
Is that included in that number?
No.
yeah, they did do a whole inventory and of what could be repaired and what could not be repaired.
And disposed of the
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
And I know keeping track of it over the years, when Martha was here, we were repairing some of those on their very last legs.
Yeah, there are several where the metal has
Yeah.
just been worked so much that it just tears now.
Yeah.
With the high school band of 18, are you planning on being at, like the football games this year?
This year, very unlikely. I don't even have instruments for everybody, so.
I was gonna say, can you touch on what you had shared with me about those 18 students and what they're doing and how they're getting through?
Yeah, it's a core group that came together predominantly of 6th graders that started last year, that have carried on. We've picked up a few kind of straggler high school students that are either at one point in their life they were doing it maybe here or elsewhere, or they just have a vested interest in the arts. But we've put together a group of students that are very dedicated and excited to see where this can go and excited to see it grow, frankly. And I think we're poised to do that if we can offer the necessary curricular.
I was overly hopeful that we would have a band at a
Yeah.
game, that everybody's begging to have
They're
that.
actually
Yeah.
practicing on instruments that do not work.
Yeah.
So is there like a bare bones list of instruments that you would need?
Yeah, I forwarded a list around, so Dr. Chandler has it, Jody has it. There's a list of 30 or so instruments that are just not in good shape right now that I can't put in a student's hand.
Right. What about like a bare bones list to put the band together?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, if we could get that, that'd be great. I could definitely reach out to a few people and maybe something could happen.
Well, I know from a community standpoint, like the first part was we couldn't find a teacher for a long time. So I don't know that it's very well known that we don't have, now we have a teacher. I don't think it's well known that we don't have instruments. So, I mean.
We did a good job of letting people know we had a music teacher, but I didn't even know until Dylan let
Yeah,
through
so I
and
think
said,
that
all these things don't work. Here, these things need to be replaced. So I'm sure people don't know how great that need is.
I think we could get some good community donations.
So it seems like we need a little committee to pull together here to
Yeah. I think,
generate ideas and try to get some money going for this.
I think there's a lot of companies like Hampton that would be willing to donate money for this. So
I'll mention
Okay,
it.
give a plug
Put it
for,
together.
see if we can, yeah. And we need to get a couple more interested, musically inclined.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We have good numbers though. Exciting.
Yeah, it's neat to see it coming back.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We need a band at the games.
Yeah.
That was the best part of high school.
Nobody would rather be there than me.
We'll get you there.
yeah.
It's a process.
Everybody will get you there.
All right, moving on. We're kind of working backwards of my report because those things Curtis has already mentioned, alluded to a little bit. Number 2, which is new students' impact on needs. We have a couple of new students in the Learning Center that have compounded that scenario and made it more complicated, including some not new students who've come back from the summer not exactly developed as much as we'd like to have seen them grown and kind of maybe regress some behaviorally. So it's creating quite an issue in the Learning Center. So a huge impact. I think Ms. McConnell spoke to that a little bit earlier. Cognia, this fall, we have initiated our Cognia accreditation review. I think I mentioned that briefly last time, but we've completed the first phase of that, which is a study, a class, so that we can then move to the meeting and start that process. And we're slated for January to actually have the exit interviews, which means there's a lot of ground to cover between now and January. It's a big,
all of those things.
yeah, it's a full comprehensive look. And so, the data we just looked at and we'll look at with Ms. McCall's report, along with other things, we'll paint the picture of where we are. I don't know exactly the last time that accreditation was done, but
It was
2 years ago. Trying to remember.
It was that COVID, right before the COVID
right
year,
before
when all those
COVID,
scores
yeah.
started going up.
Yeah.
We did it like right before that.
Yeah.
and now the score's been going down and we're doing it now. So it'll probably be a rough experience. So just not that you have to be involved in it close up, but just know it'll be happening.
So
When
we
was
get
the
help.
last year that state testing mattered? Like when did it quit?
I wasn't here. I don't know. It still mattered. It didn't matter during COVID where I was,
but I
but
wonder like what.
I mean, when did the kids stop caring?
Yeah, like when did it quit mattering?
I mean, that's-
when did it quit mattering? When did
Because
it quit? When did it matter anymore? Whether or not you had. Remember when you used to have to take it and you had to pass? Like when you were in high school, did you have to pass it?
I don't recall if I had to pass it because I grew up in a household where I didn't
You
pass
had to pass
everything.
either way.
I had to pass everything regardless. So for me, I had to pass it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It was
The first-
instilled in me that it mattered.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had different.
Good
upbringing.
parents. I'm not saying that.
I know I have fabulous parents.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Not that they're.
No.
I just
And I'm
wondered
sorry, I
what-
can't answer. I know in
Because I know,
Georgia
like,
it was the year of
the
COVID.
work that we were doing, and then we went through that, and then the scores were increasing, but I just wonder if, I'd be curious to know what year that you didn't have to, because if there was a decline after that.
Well, some of the tests were never required for passing. They were used as metrics.
Yeah, some we just did on our, well, 'cause
Yeah, there was only like a couple at the high
Mhm.
school level that was required. Which
the rest we just did.
yeah.
Okay. And already talked about the kitchen plumbing update. What a problem that is. And I know I'd spoken with Kim, concerned about the fact that the meals that we are providing aren't exactly adored, which we anticipated, but we had to provide a meal of some sort. And that was the fix that we were able to find, thanks to Kim. She does have a plan. I don't want to speak for you, Kim, but she does have a plan. We've gotten to a place to where the new cooler now can begin to go up. I didn't get down there today to check. Can I start? Okay. So the panels are here, and they're supposed to work on that this week, and it shouldn't take more than about a week or so to actually put that piece together. Once that's done, Kim can start serving some thaw and serve meals, which she thinks will help bolster that participation in lunch, alleviate some of that. But it is still a journey and not fun. But I think I'd already given the other pieces of
Are
the
our
kitchen
lunch
thing.
numbers down?
Yes.
37.5% on a good day. The concern about that is that our numbers for October specifically feed into Skyward, which feeds into Cedars, which ultimately, pun intended, feeds our funding for the following year.
Based off of the October number.
Correct.
So definitely feeling like your hands are tight.
Yeah. So I kind of anything could go wrong. It has gone wrong.
Funky, bumpy, and lumpy.
So so if the numbers are down, what's worst case scenario?
She has less money a year from now.
Okay, well, your numbers go up, you still have to feed the people.
Correct. So she has less money to feed the people with a year from now.
So crappier food a year from now.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I mean, like what? I mean, at the end of the day, what
I
is
mean,
it, what's
you
it-
ask a good question, and I don't know what the bottom line of that will be. I just know that whatever happens through the month of October, then we'll feed that, as Kim said, and that
I know, but you like if your numbers go up though, you still have to.
you still have to feed.
Okay,
And
maybe just a better explanation with numbers.
they don't
I don't- do
readjust
they
as you go
readjust
along
in
through
your
the year.
experience?
Well, you'd have to adjust.
So what exactly is the problem with the food? Taste, texture, content?
Content, taste, texture. I brought examples if you'd like to see them. I wrote on the backs of the bags what each individual meal was. So for your pleasure, please feel free. Those are 3 of 10 options that we feed the kids on a rotating menu cycle.
Do you guys like them? Do you eat them?
Staff
No.
isn't allowed to eat them
Oh, they're not?
because we have to count and account for each one of those.
Okay, I want my salad bar back.
We want our salad bar back, yes.
She ate one day, and then after that, she said, we have to go get
Teachers
lunch.
have a salad bar, yeah.
Okay.
Secondary and teachers, we have a beautiful salad bar.
So you can't have one in the lunchroom?
Not right now, no.
Yeah,
I
she has
have
nowhere to
no-
prep.
No sinks,
No
no
prep.
washing, no sanitation.
Whole kitchen.
Yeah,
It's
I have
ripped out.
pictures. I mean,
Right.
the amount, I showed Denise the other day, she came up for a visit. It's completely gutted. Yeah, it's not what it, yeah.
Can we encourage kids in October to everybody go through
So
that
here's
one
what-
and bring it back to the classroom for a snack in the afternoon?
But what am I supposed to feed the kids for lunch?
But well, they would bring their own lunch and go through the lunch.
Yeah, they could bring it as a snack.
I mean,
Yeah,
at least
they
your
can,
numbers would be up
absolutely.
that way. And if
Yeah,
they didn't want that, they would share it with people and
kids do eat them, but.
And
they're
what
just
we
not-
do, what we're doing to help bolster our numbers on the side is elementary typically gets a cheese stick. Junior high will get something like a cheese stick and a bag of chips to help fill them up. And then the high schoolers, they get an Uncrustable and or a cheese stick and a bag of chips. Something to feed them, fill them up, and help bring our numbers up. Literally, my high schoolers come through the line just to get the Uncrustable. That's the best part of their lunch.
And that's not part of these bags.
Correct, no, that's
In addition to.
in addition to. Feel free to open them up, yeah,
Yes.
Can we put the
Open and
Uncrustable
taste
in the
them.
bag?
When they take the lunch.
I
So they'll
could, yes.
take the lunch?
I'm sorry, say that
So
again.
they'll take the lunch?
So they'll take the lunch,
Yeah.
yes. And oftentimes they will grab their lunch, grab their Uncrustable, and then drop their lunch bag into the share bin. Because that's what they want is the Uncrustable. So, but that said, our numbers are still down 37.5%.
Did we have any other options,
Yeah. I mean, go.
We didn't have many options.
like other school districts?
Oh,
providing
we
the
searched
food?
We
high
looked
and
into
low. We
that.
tried to rent kitchen space. I looked at farming out
trucks.
my team to the kitchens for additional labor. I looked at food trucks. I looked at other prepackaged meal options, and this was the most economical option that we could entertain. Each one of those bags is approximately 3 1/4.
And while you are talking, go ahead and address what it will look like when we get that cooler up and you can do the thaw and serve. What's the
Thank you.
difference? Yes.
Once we do have our cooler, because we are limited currently on fridge and freezer space, once our cooler has been built, which hopefully will be by the end of this week. You're welcome, take your lunch. We will have more options to do thaw and serve sandwiches, Uncrustables, things of that nature, which will bolster our numbers as well. But still, I won't have anything to produce a salad bar, no sinks or anything until construction is complete. There are many, many, many hoops to jump through to get this project off the ground and done.
Okay.
Well,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was looking at that and, side note, I can understand why the kids probably not thrilled with the selections. But I also would say when I was in the army, those would have tasted.
No,
If
I
you
was
haven't
thinking
just
like-
tasted good enough, then you haven't been properly starved.
Yeah, properly
Is-
starved.
Everything tastes good in a season with hunger.
Yeah,
Eat what's for dinner.
Is there
But I
a
get it.
hardship
Understand what you're trying to
process
do.
for those numbers?
I don't know. I can check into that.
Yeah, let's check into that, because we don't want to.
Because
Look up
all this is
next year's
just kind of imploded on us this week. The past several days, Kim and I talked about this. So
See if we have a hardship option to adjust it for next year.
you mentioned in our conversations when we chatted in the kitchen about creating activities around the lunchroom to kind of like provide some secondary motivation for being there. Like games or, social activities or anything like that, if I remember correctly. So the lunch experience itself, obviously it surrounds food choices, but how about activities? Anything related to groups meeting over lunch or any groups of students that have fun, play games, anything else in order to draw them into that space and participate in that snack situation?
The
Great
only-
question, Mitch. What I'd like to say is, and welcome you to our lunch cafeteria anytime. We start serving lunches at 10:30.
Okay.
And don't quit, don't stop until 1:20. And it is orchestrated mayhem. Each class is set to come in at 5-minute increments. And they dine, clean up, and go to recess. They have 20 minutes to sit and eat. So in order to then think about games is really not
Not
operationally
time.
functional.
Understand. So we'll probably should stop by and see what's going on there.
I'd love to have you in the cafeteria.
It used to be kids would complain that they didn't have enough time to eat.
Oh my gosh, they would get in there and every time to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Or they
the
wouldn't get through the
main-
line in time, and it's time for them to go back to class.
They bring it back to the room.
There is legislature that states that just passed, I believe, last month, that changes the seating time to 25 minutes, if I'm correct, for next year, 25, 26.
How long, we haven't had time to talk about this, how long is the serving of these things taking right now?
Probably
It's pretty
fast.
quick.
It
It's
should be
very
fast.
quick,
I know we
yes.
talked about it
Here-
before.
yeah. We won't let was it last year? But this year it'll be a lot worse when we go back to the lunches that that they
Oh, it's
like. It's,
yes.
They're not. It's going to be the same thing. And they're not going
Yeah,
to.
20 minutes isn't a long. isn't
But I mean,
much
they're not
time at
even
all.
getting in there and actually having that. And that's what we say. but that's
And
not
it also
what they
depends on
actually-
the age of the kid. For example, last year, the junior high kids, 10 minutes and they were done. By the time the end of the line got through, the first of the line were already causing grief and moving around. Their eating time was 5 minutes. They just wolf it down. So I know that was an area of concern. And this year they are moving them already, I think, out to a gym or outside,
We
even
started
as a junior high
privileges,
groups. Yeah.
high school, junior
Getting
high
them out of there.
privileges to go to the gym today.
Because for 15 minutes, they're poking and prodding at each other.
Well, and with this
Instead
one,
of
too,
eating.
it's not taking them very. I mean, they're probably.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Yes, no,
I mean,
they're consumed, they're through the line.
Yeah.
Speaking of junior high and high school specifically, they are through the line and have consumed their lunches inside of 13 minutes.
Yeah.
So junior high and high school, let's back the bus up a little bit. The kids are allotted 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, 30 minutes for lunch and recess, 20-ish minutes for lunch, and I'm talking about elementary now, 20-ish minutes for lunch and 10 for recess. Junior high, secondary, they have the same 30 minutes.
Actually,
15, 20, and 20.
I'm sorry?
we have 20 minutes of recess after lunch.
Okay, thank you for that correction. 20 and 20 on elementary. Secondary has 30. They get through the line, wolf down their food, they've got 20 minutes on their hands.
Okay. Be there under security install. A bit of good news. We have finally been released from the install portion of the contract with the security plan. So hopefully now we can get that project moving more than it what has been moving for months. We do have
We needed to get more bids.
we've been working on that. We have a guy coming on Thursday to do a site walk. We have one of the original bids that we had. We're asking for an update on that, and then we're asking for one more.
So we'll have to be again, so by our October, can we have a special meeting if we're before?
We could have four. We could have a total of 4 bids, depending on how it comes down.
Could it be before the next board meeting?
Potentially. But at least we have dislodged and gotten out of the install piece that they weren't going to do. And so, I mean, we've just been sitting in a holding pattern for 6 months. I mean, it's just nothing. So feel good that we're at least out of that and are able to move forward. So stay tuned.
Did they mention why it took so long to get those documents forwarded?
No, I mean, the holdup came in the cycle that happened earlier where everybody didn't have an L&I number, but they kept waiting on the one that had an L&I number to share that. So they could all piggyback off of that, but that group was not sharing their L&I number to let somebody else use it. And this group said, well, we're not going to get our own L&I, but they kept us on the hook for the contract during the whole time. And it was just a continual cycle. Actually being released wasn't as long as all the other stuff, but it did take a minute. Yeah. not been fun at all. But so hopefully that will be moving forward as soon as possible. That's it. And Ms. McConnell, I think.
So
I'm sorry.
we have one bid that they know they're updating it.
We have one bid that's going to be updated.
And they're working on that.
Yes.
And then we've got somebody else.
Somebody that's coming
this
on
week.
Thursday. And then there's another bid that we had that they don't know that we need them to update it.
So they're going to be you're going to
They'll
contact
contact
them.
And then there's one more that we're contacting as well. So hopefully we can do one more site visit, and because the complexity and scope of the project, they have to do a sidewalk or they can't bid it. It's just too much.
Mhm.
Yeah. So movement after a long sit. And then number 5, I think Ms. McConnell alluded to that earlier as well.
What was the root cause on that?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Some say us and some say them.
Who's anybody taking ownership?
What do you say?
What are we gonna do different next year so it doesn't happen again?
Well, I hope we're not transferring any kind of platform next year. That'd be what my vote would be, that we're not.
So we're changing platforms.
We were
and what?
changing platforms in the academy. And we were changing some platforms, as I understand it, on our system.
And we didn't test before the first day of school?
Yes, before the first day of school, yes. One party said I didn't get something in time. The other party said I gave this then. So it got delayed in the actual initiation. I don't know which one is which and have no control whatsoever over one. So it bottlenecked, and there it sat till it got worked through. So it did delay the academy until it finally was functioning on Thursday of last week. Yeah. There were other tech issues as well. One of which, the biggest of which, I think would have probably been the amplify piece, which had been connected for a long time, but when people reported that they couldn't log on, they couldn't get in, for some reason, that company had not pulled our data, even though they were connected to it. So they had not pulled our data in adequate time, and so then they started pulling our data to make that piece work. And it all bottlenecked at one time because there were other pieces as well that were floating around in there, and created a perfect storm, a perfect mess. We don't know why they weren't pulling our data. They hadn't pulled our data in weeks off the piece that should have been pulling our data, and we don't know why they weren't pulling our data. I don't know.
Fixed now?
I don't. As far as I know, it is fixed now. As far as I know.
It's not fully functioning. We even have a 5th grade teacher who still doesn't even have access
So
to log in
what is it for? What's it access to?
to Amplify and already.
So
What's Amplify do? I know I already.
It's a program. It's a program.
Program. Core
It's a program.
instruction.
Gotcha.
It's your core instruction.
Amplify.
And
And is it for
also-
all of the elementary that it
Yeah.
wasn't working?
Well, not TTK.
But
Oh, wait, then it's not working?
yeah, I mean, like with
Oh,
the
that piece I don't know.
Maybe Curtis.
So we adopted CKLA Amplify for our ELA curriculum in the elementary.
like new this year.
New this year.
Okay.
We were pushing for something new as we didn't have enough. Teachers were piecemealing together. It was not a great situation for last year. We were pushing to use ESSER funds for the adoption of the new curriculum. That was a rush process back in December.
Oh, because the
I
funds were going
believe-
away.
I believe we ended up making the purchase in April. We ended up getting it confirmed. It was into, I think, August before the digital onboarding started. Then when that process started, between the process of connecting with our tech support, myself and their company, and the communication breakdowns within after starting later, we then had like he talked about, a perfect storm of not prepared for students to be in the classroom. Then when it came to iReady, when we switched platforms, iReady was ready to go. It's not a new option. We've had iReady Math, as we were going to keep iReady Math in the elementary school. We then had a chance to use ClassLink, which is the new rostering service. But then when we had a meeting, I think a couple of weeks ago, was it? Where we were talking with Ryan, our tech support person, and he realized that we didn't have the plan to use Launchpad, which is also it kind of goes with ClassLink. So it pretty much creates like an app on your app homepage on your computer, students' computers. So then Amplify can be right there, and it's like a single sign-on. So then people can go to iReady or go to Amplifier, things like that. And then switching to the single sign-on and things like that, iReady was not working for, I think, like I said, this week was the first time that I've heard more broadly that everybody had access. There were still some people that didn't know how to access it. We're still working on how to get everybody on the same page. I think that just needs to be clearly communicated in communication with Ryan around how to be able to access that. Teachers to know how to make sure students are ready to use it. Some teachers were able to get in and figure it out quickly before there was any notice. People, just sitting there clicking a button, right? Hoping and praying because kids are in the classroom. And then with Creative Curriculum, we had made a purchase back in June, I believe. We had sent them the PO. Creative Curriculum is for our TK program, pardon me. And so just for our 2 TK classrooms, there was a delay on their end around waiting for our processing. And so we eventually got it going. We have the hard copy stuff in the elementary school right now. And we have the digital account that I just was receiving today to get in and get started. So as of the start of school and all of last week, we had almost no curriculum in the elementary school.
So, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Your red shirt. This is Cuddy.
Cuddy's your
I'm
buddy.
sorry. Could you finish your point? You had a point that you were trying to make. And you
Oh,
kinda
no, I
got
was
cut
just
off.
saying
I
it's not
apologize for that.
for like the 4th through the 6th grade teachers. We share classes and our rosters in Skyward where we take attendance and everything.
Right.
In mine and Mr. Marshall's for 6th grade anyway, we have each other's classes. We can see each other's classes, and it's supposedly supposed to just link up with Amplify and iReady. That has not done that. So I can only do my class online version, and I cannot do Mr. Marshall's class yet. That hasn't been solved. I've talked to Ryan, the tech guy, several times last week, along with district office.
Is Ryan here? Is Ryan ours all the time? Or
No.
We share him, right?
No.
He's very,
Yeah, he's spread pretty thin. Well, he doesn't disturb us.
no.
Correct.
So anyway, it's definitely, now that I heard JD's got hurt on, but it's accessible, but it's still
Problematic.
for 4 through 6 for right now.
Well, now, like, I know personally for me, I can see both classes over Skyward, but I can't see them over CKLA and iReady. I only see my group.
That's a platform's talking to do it. All that stuff's a headache. We didn't start working on it until August.
It is a headache when you say we didn't start working on it until August.
Well, I mean, like the systems feeding to each other and making sure that you can see everything. Like that's not just a plug it in and go.
We've been working on ClassLink, which is the platform we're going to since back in mid to late spring. Each of the programs that we've discussed all had a different entry point into that, and I don't know what they are sitting right here. I don't know. To at least 2 of them were in June. The one that was in August was Academy, whatever the Academy is using with the edge. All the others had been started previously. But whatever
Were
the
they working in
Academy was
spring?
delayed because they didn't start it until in August. It was the one that had the most. Why is it just sitting there? Except for the Amplify, which we didn't understand why I still don't know why they were not pulling our data for a number of weeks when they had access to our data. I don't have an answer to that. Yeah. But all the others were started well before August.
But everything's still not working yet in the elementary.
We are seeing some teachers work through, whereas some like for example, Ms. Kraft was able to go in and see and amplify and iReady, however Ms. Stott was not. And so the change in login method, right, how the teachers can get into their side and then the students as well, that changed from like we said, ClassLink and Launchpad. We were using a lot of names and we switched so much stuff, right? But I think the ultimate thing is we don't have the final say on, hey, this is fully operational. This is how you do it. If you go here, here, and here, you are ready to get started for your students. And we're waiting to make sure that happens and get that started. I think to make sure that teachers know how to do what they need to do and what they're being asked to do. And I think this week we'll be getting to that.
And is that Ryan or is that
It's a
you
combination.
guys putting that together, of the ones who have figured it out?
Well, I think it's going to end up coming to us. So like in the elementary school, at least me and the teachers, I have actually, Ms. Guzman has actually been my, she's been my, hey, can you go check iReady for me? Can you get in yet? Can you get in yet? Can you get in yet? She
Because
sent
the
me a
younger
picture
ones
of
are
her
the
login
best
method
at
and the
that
error
stuff.
code about that. So, hey, can you tell me if it's working for you? Can you tell me if it's working yet? So I've been trying to check in on that with at least iReady. And then I don't have my account for Amplify yet. So teachers are able to get in through their single sign-on, but as an administrator, I can't go in and see and support like that. We're working on that. I'm not sure why. However, that's part of it, is that we do have some things to work out, and when Ryan's not here as often.
This is probably a dumb question, so just I apologize. How many hours a week do we get Ryan for? Or like, do they know, like, you can?
Not enough.
Yeah,
I know it's
not enough, not
Like,
enough.
is he, like, is there a dedicated time or day or multiple days? Like, what's the teacher?
Under his contract that just ended, it basically was 1 day a week.
1 day?
Yes, that's what we had.
That's his contract.
Under his contract for the coming year, if it's on the board agenda tonight, I've asked him if he could do more than 1 day a week, and he was willing to do 2 days a week, and he started last week. This was Monday, so last week. So we're increasing that to 2 days a week, and he was willing to do it for 3 months. He's not willing to commit all year because he does have multiple other obligations. But so for the next 3 months, we're increasing him to 2 days a week. So anyway, that's part of your, so increase that.
Can you have somebody on staff that has a tech stipend that can help, because like she knows a lot and she, is there just somebody on staff you can? If you're not, if you're paying Ryan for the 3 months, can we supplement a staff member after hours before school?
I've never heard of that. Do any schools do that?
Oh yeah, my old district did
Yeah,
it.
we did it
A
too.
stipend.
Yeah. We've done it in the past for short-term projects where we've had to go out and learn something new, and then they come back and teach everybody else how to do it. Sometimes it has been.
Wait, which one is it, Vanessa?
Cancel.
Oh, cancel. Because I did it one time and turned it off. You didn't do it in time.
Okay.
We just go back to
No kidding.
So is that something that we can look at, having
looks work great.
a text stipend or?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, with the money that we don't have. Temporarily.
Well, Curtis messed up our tech, huh?
So my first thought is, when we're spending all of this money on this vendor software, what kind of support are we getting for implementation and
Yeah, like.
orientation of this product in this workspace? I mean, what's the companies doing in order to roll out these software successfully.
The high school HMH, there is some supports with HMH. I have to defer to Curtis on the Amplify because I'm not sure.
With all the curriculums that we have, they do professional development or like training days that are geared not towards the setting up of the product. That's more of on the district's end to do that part. The companies that I've seen with the adoptions that I've been a part of, it's mostly focused on preparing the administrators and the teachers to implement the product, but there's little to no support for that, as I think that's typically on the
That'd be
district. to
between
work on something.
Ryan and whoever.
Right, it is, Ryan usually does communicate a lot directly with them to make sure, hey, is this process happening correctly or not? At least partially.
Does Ryan ever say whether or not it's them or?
Yes.
Yeah.
He will say, we've done everything I can see is do this or that. I mean, in fact, I communicated with him just this afternoon between the end of school and the start of this meeting. And that's why I said, as far as I knew, I'd ask him, was Amplify as far as he could see working. And he said back that it on his side, all he could see, it looked like it was up and going. And then asked him, is there a problem? And I, at that point, didn't know of a problem. I knew we'd been having problems, but we were all running around, so I didn't even know if they still were experiencing issues. I just was checking with him to see what he could see. From his side, he looked okay. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, handbook update.
I just have in here a copy of the updates that we have discussed and talked about previously. I don't think it's even redlined. It's just in there.
That's the updated one?
Yes. Yeah. That we looked at last time, and I just
Yeah,
took
so-
I just took the red out, and it's all incorporated in there. So what we talked about last time.
So we talked about using Skyward for grade checks.
Yes, I think that's what we use.
In here, it says that the student athlete will be responsible for getting their grades.
Oh yeah, that
So can we change that to
I'll
have
change
them
that.
using it
Yeah,
for
actually,
Skyward?
that was left in there, I think, from last year.
I can give you my copy here.
Yeah,
if you want.
somehow that got overlooked last year. What page is that on?
I don't know the page, but I'll just give you this
Okay.
when I leave.
Yeah, I think that got. Oh, I know that got left in there from last year
Yeah.
because I know they were doing the other this year and it worked well.
And then we were working on changing the attendance piece, right? And so they did it does look like a lot of that was changed.
Yeah.
But it says the student athlete must have a written note signed by the doctor, dentist, physical therapist, or a parent guardian, because some of the excuses will be family emergencies.
Okay.
So if we could
Yeah, I don't
add that in
think
there.
that particular line. I don't think we talked about. I think we were above that when we were talking. So
Yeah,
if
well,
do
we
that, I'll
were
make
we
that
were trying to
adjustment.
say that overall
Yeah.
that the parents
Parent.
have the
Still have the
option
option.
to do that. And then this little asterisk one, I think we just need to include unless it's approved by the school administration.
We'll go back and make those adjustments. Especially if you're going to give me that copy.
I will.
Good.
There you go.
Thank you.
So I noticed that the cell phone earbud policy looks to be the same as when we had a look at it before. And we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't.
That
I was going to say
little-
we didn't take any action or anything. That
Right.
that is based on your current board policy.
Current handbook.
Yeah, well, it's also on board policy. You also have
Oh, policy.
yeah, you also have current board policy about cell phones, which I think I've included in this
Right.
thing. We
It's
get to
down
it.
here.
We get to that. in a
You know,
minute.
one thing I wanted to mention is the OSBI just came out with some guidance related to cell phones.
Okay.
And it might be advantageous to liaison with some of the teachers, maybe a teacher group, and start getting some feedback on how the policy is working that we have already. And I assume that we're gonna be talking about that probably a little bit more as we move along in the agenda tonight.
Yeah, and we can move on off of the handbook though for now, unless you guys have something separate
Do you guys have any more comments on the handbook?
handbook specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read through all those sections, but those are the ones I saw.
And then you saw the last piece that was the requirement this year from OSBI as well. Just in case you get questions, these last 3
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
That was what we talked about last time.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right,
Okay, resolution declaration of the surplus bus. So we'll bring the handbook back next time for approval.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on the surplus bus? Otherwise, we need a motion.
Motion for the surplus bus.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I don't know if it's on there again.
Policy 6530, the insurance. Does our insurance policy that we currently have fulfill all the things that are listed in here?
I don't know about that. I don't know. And where did this was sent to us, right? This insurance one? Workers' comp, yeah. So definitely if you want me to cross-reference
Yeah, I
this
think
to
we
what
should
we currently have,
cross-reference to what
I'd
we
have time to
currently
do that.
had before we
Yeah, this would be a first
approved it.
reading
Yeah, this is
anyway.
our first
Yeah,
reading,
yeah.
so,
So
so we need to.
I'll cross-reference that. Any other questions about that for now? Till I cross-reference
Yeah,
that?
no, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Most of it looked pretty standard, but I just didn't know if ours meet the requirements. Teaching waivers.
Got 2 tabs in here. I'm sorry about that. Here's one. High school math. Phil's.
Do you guys see all of those?
It's got strong.
So we have 7 of them.
Yeah, it's more in. Any
Do you guys
questions
have
about
any
anything else?
questions on them?
Well,
No. 6 in that pocket, and then there's 1 here. This is our new hire. Curtis picked him up for Jasmine's position,
and what is it? What?
and
so what
he
does he
well
do? What does he do?
he is a certified teacher, but he's not.
No.
He's working on his special ed endorsement. Ms. McConnell, you know more about where he is. Maybe you could explain to them. I don't know.
Yeah, we actually had Director Townsend on the interview panel with us when we interviewed Mr. Schmitz. We were lucky enough to find though not fully, but very qualified candidate for special ed. We were looking, and we were finding candidates that were not meeting the cut of, wanting to settle on a special education teacher. And so we found him. He is has a lot of background in like physical education, math, has done different coaching things, and has developed a passion, has continued to have a passion for special education in his past. I know that he had mentioned he had some special needs in his family as well, and so he has been very motivated and is very interested into it. So we're very lucky. He's currently accepting a program right now to where I'm not sure. However, he's working on his credential to be fully endorsed in his area that he's teaching in. He's currently the kindergarten through 5th grade special education teacher, the resource room teacher in the elementary school.
On these agreements on the plan, where there's not, some of them aren't real specific, who holds them accountable? Does the principals have to do that?
Yeah.
Individually, then do you oversee the whole thing?
Yeah, that's Stacy and me. Yeah, the principals will be the primary, but then we'd support them to make sure they're getting their program.
Some of them are pretty. They're not specific. So I don't know how you would hold somebody accountable to a plan that's not specific.
You got a specific one you're asking about, I'm sure.
Let's talk about.
No, I just mean like, like, because we have quite a few and like some of them, maybe special education math, some are maybe more important than
Critical.
others. And so there's like, they need to get this or that, but like, some of them have a time frame, but some don't, like.
They all should have a time frame.
Right, so I mean, just looking at what the bulleted items are and how specific they are and who holds them accountable for that.
Yeah, that's primary principles.
So do we need a motion to adopt?
We do. We do get checked on this through.
Well, because,
auditing
okay, I'll just use this as
also.
an example, like that I would, if you want to hold people accountable to it, what, Ben? Did you read them?
Yes.
So like meet periodically with ESC, that's pretty vague. Collaborate with math teachers, which they can do that, take the test to get secondary math endorsement, but like there's no time frame. I mean, it doesn't say by, like, I don't know how often it's offered. I'm not saying there needs, but like, what's the time frame? Like, because at the end of the year, if they miss that, like, I mean, seek out resources too. Some of these are just good things, but they're not like.
They're not timely or
Yeah.
not time measured.
Overall, I mean, is this what they all look like? I don't know. Just ask.
It's just a broad scope of what they're supposed to do, right?
Yeah,
Well, it's a specific plan though, because they don't have that education to be teaching that. So we have to grant these in order for them to be able to teach in these different areas because they're waivers, because
Correct.
they're like, we hire somebody to teach math, but they don't have their math degree.
So-
And so I like that we do that. I like that we,
the ones that I know about
Yeah.
typically are on like a 2, sometimes a 3-year time frame. And if they don't
Sure.
have it, they're out.
right. Which I
You
just
may be
don't
speaking
see-
about something specific that maybe we need to talk about in executive session. I don't know, but
No,
um,
nobody specific and no job specific.
but-
Just in
but they
general,
should be.
how vague-
they really should. And maybe the form needs to be updated to, we add that so we could amend it. And
I mean,
bring it
because some of
back.
these things are good things, but they're not necessarily, like, I see what the plan is, but like the overall plan would be you need to have your certification by, I'm
X
assuming there
day.
should probably be a date that they have.
There
to-
should be a day. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
We should do that for the endorsement part.
Yeah.
But some of them are, we have such a difficult time filling some of the pieces, like Cameron has been teaching Spanish and history to
Yeah.
high school students at the college level.
Mhm.
So I think that's an easy one for us to justify and,
Yeah, there's some that I
Getting
think
the
are
waivers
easier than
and-
probably others, but I don't wanna,
yeah.
we're sitting here talking about how horrible our scores are,
Sorry.
and then we have, we're asking people to do a lot, and sometimes it's outside of their, so making sure that they're getting what they need to,
So add time frame to the
Yeah.
sheets,
or just, yeah, like, what's the plan for like when they have to have their, whatever.
So you recommend delaying the resolution?
No. Well, I mean,
well, let's just improve it for going
yeah,
forward.
and just next year. Because these are good for a year, right? We do them every
We
year.
do them every year. If you have anybody on that, it would be ideal that at some point you don't have somebody on a waiver.
We keep growing them, we don't get more, we'll always have waivers, which is fine. Good. A lot of people do a lot of things. Wear a lot of hats.
So we'd
Okay.
like to offer a resolution?
Yeah, sure. Motion to approve the waivers.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And then this is his contract, that's what you were showing us,
Yes,
to go
So,
up to 2 days a
this
week?
is 2 days a week for the next 3 months and then continuing on 1 day. So it's an increase from what he had, and these number of hours from the previous
Is
contract.
he here all day on his 2 days? All day? like what-
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But sometimes he's available by phone.
Sometimes
so
he's by
like,
phone and
It's not
remote.
like just 2 days. It's like part of his time is spread throughout a week, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure, he spent plenty of time with me on the phone on the weekend. So, because it's hard to get him during the day that if he's not here,
Sure.
we're not supposed to be here with us. It's
Yeah.
hard for him to do his job he's working on, and
But he fills
For
his
this.
time, he fulfills his time on other, not.
he has other
Yeah.
he has other contracts,
Right.
other jobs. Yeah. So like he's not even willing to go all year at 2 days a week here. He can't. He just said, I'll do it next 3 months.
So this price is 2 days a week?
This is 2 days a week for the next 3 months, and then a continuing. Well, it's a total of 448 hours. So however that math
Once
works
that
out.
ends up, then we the time.
And then you do a time. If we needed him beyond 448, then we pay him on
Oh yeah.
your time sheet.
That's, I don't know. It's not that expensive.
So, I'm not reading it, if he's working for multiple companies, how is he itemizing our time?
How does he itemize it?
Yes. How does he, bracket the time that he's spending on this per hour, per minute, for a fixed, he has a fixed rate, but and fixed hours. How do we know that on the 448 hours, he's working on our projects and not multitasking on other people's projects?
Well, as of late, because I'm in his face, but I can't. I mean, I don't.
Does he
I don't
provide
follow
us
him
with-
around.
Does he provide us with an accounting of his time?
His
No.
billable hours?
No, he has his contract. He shows up here. If he is not here, we follow up with that for whatever reason, but don't necessarily have a way to know he's not working on somebody else's
No,
business.
he doesn't send in itemized.
No, no. Mm-mm.
And this is for a year? Or it's 3 months, actually, right?
It's the contract is for over the a year, but it's for the 448 hours now. So if he reached the 448 hours, I don't know why he needs the hours in there and both of them.
So we need a resolution to adopt this contract.
Unless you want to go back and modify it in some way.
Well, it would be nice to get an itemized billable hours on what exactly he's doing for us, for
Well,
the money
okay,
that
like,
we're paying him. I mean, it seems like it's pretty standard.
so if some of this, I mean, I know obviously we only have a handful here tonight, but like the idea of a tip stipend, have we looked at like what that is, and if we kept him at 1 day and that, have we looked at that option, or do we think like, could we get more for, like, would it serve us better to do something like that? Because if we bump him to 2, then the tech stipend is probably not gonna be something that we're gonna be able to afford, is my guess.
So you
I think-
asked several things.
I think we need the 2 days
No matter
right
what,
now. I
and then
think our
something in
teachers
addition.
are pretty full with coming up to speed on what they're doing. So I think we need the 2 days of him making sure all these programs are running. And what the
yes.
teachers are working on is learning how to use the programs.
Yeah, I'm not talking
And
about
so
that
that-
part.
yeah,
I'm talking
and
about
so-
having somebody here though that can, well, 2 different things, not the learning part, not that part. That's just,
So the answer is yes, we have looked at that, the question you asked. And yes, even if that's the route we choose to go, this would be necessary because he holds the keys to the kingdom.
And after all the years I've spent managing the software guys, it is much more efficient to have one person that does
yeah.
the majority than trying to split it with another person.
Where does
You
Brian
could-
work besides just here?
Works at Morton.
Morton, just
He serves Morton School District, and then he works for like a car dealership. I don't know. I mean, I don't. That's all I know. I don't know.
But we could ask him for an accounting of the hours.
Yes.
And I don't know that we need to do it the detailed, but certainly a percentage of where he's spending his time, what percentage of his time is spent on answering phone calls from afar and what percentage of his time is here working in-house.
Or how much is, this doesn't sound, but like, what percentage is based off of what he thinks is self-inflicted? Like, what could have we done different or better? Versus how much of it is like the headache piece of softwares and getting the teams to talk to each other. Like, so what can we do to improve our overall? I mean, like if you went to talk to any teacher or any admin, they
More
have
tech.
frustration with IT.
I think
So
from,
like,
from,
what can
from
we
my
do better?
position all the way through, the answer would be, we would be helpful to have somebody here every day.
Right, which we know we can't have, but what could we do different? Like from his opinion, like right now, okay, he's just fighting fires or whatever, but have we asked him, like, what could we do differently that would make it better for you to do your job better so that we can get what
Yes.
we need?
Yes. Some of the same discussion we had a second ago. I've had those discussions with him as well.
Right on. Motion to approve the tech support contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we should probably ask for a generalized accountability on percentages of where he's spending his time. I think that would help us too on what percentages phone calls, answering questions versus in-house doing work.
Yeah, just general invoicing.
Something.
Yeah.
I could add something that'd be okay. I think the biggest burning question, the only reason I spoke up out of turn here is it meeting our needs right now in the 21st century in 2024? Is 2 days a week even with Ryan, and Ryan is a very smart man and he does a good job when he's here and he's working. But I think he's overwhelmed here. And is it meeting our needs? That's the burning question.
Right.
And does he meet his needs when we're not adopting programs? You know, do we need to plan out our adoption of programs a little bit better for the software piece?
So what you're saying is basically we need somebody full-time.
I think that if I were to compare, what I go to a lot is trying to compare. So it's not just, okay, is what we're doing the only way to do it? What are other people doing? What is the ESD 113 doing, right? The ESD 113 has someone like Ryan that comes out once or twice a week, a month maybe, and then they have someone boots on the ground, right, to be able to, you know, replace a keyboard, you know, fix a projector, things like that, right? Things that we don't need to be paying someone of Ryan's capacity that much to do those little things when we have big problems going on. Then they come out fewer opportunities. I think we've struggled this year. I think if we were to ask teachers right now, I think we probably have I think in every grade level, we've had kids that have had multiple days, if not a week or so, where they've recently been, you know, accounted for because he's been working on other things, but it's been continuous that as we get students that enroll either mid-year or starting the year each year, he enrolls to the district day one, it takes a week to longer to get their account up and running, to get them logged into a Chromebook.
That happened to me last year. I can definitely speak on that. I had several students show up mid-year and or even like diagnostic assessments just to see where they were at. It took forever to get them a Chromebook and get them logged in. It took almost 2 weeks, which is a good chunk of time.
Yeah, who would be getting you that right now? Who gets you the Chromebook now?
The Chromebook, the information, Ryan.
Oh,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, he holds the keys to the kingdom.
And you can't log into anything without approval from Ryan.
From the admin.
And he was here last year.
He's the sole admin. in the
Yeah.
district.
He's been here
So
for a
it's
while.
Nobody shares admin rights with Ryan
No,
on anything?
no,
No way.
no.
So you're completely locked down if you can't get a hold
If
of
you
Ryan.
can't get hold of Ryan, you can't get in. And then it takes usually, you have to file a ticket, but that's how the system works. And then it takes, it can take the tickets go unanswered a lot or get answered back 3 weeks.
I see the same no matter where you work, just so.
Oh, no, yeah. I have, my husband's in IT, but
So he's getting like 300 emails from Mossyrock a week?
Well,
like right now.
actually, I
That means
think
that they don't get close.
I think probably not 300 because I feel like teachers and staff are frustrated with asking them, and
Right.
so they don't.
Why is he the only?
That's all that we
That's-
have, that's all we pay for.
Yeah, so
I-
historically, in the olden days, we used to have a full-time IT person here on site
Right.
that would take care of our IT and also provide training to the teachers. But as we know throughout our state, our good budget gets tighter and tighter, and what you can spend money on has gotten narrower and narrow as far as what they allot that you can spend money on. And so the decision was one made was to go to a service, which we ended up getting better support, good support for, quite a few years in doing that way. And now we're at the point where we are that maybe the computer needs are outpacing what we can do.
Right. It's just crazy to me that
With
there's
the-
only one administrator. Like, why would Mark be like?
Yeah,
able
we
to
should
log
have
in?
more, we did have more administrators. So I think when Dr. Grant was here, she was also an administrator.
He was the only administrator when I came, and he's still just
Yeah.
the only
Right.
administrator.
And so, I mean, that's something that we can change.
He said, find somebody that's savvy enough to not screw everything up and give them access to help.
We did limit the administrator because we had it a little too open many years ago. And information got out that should not have gotten out and was disseminated to other people. And so that we went through a period of time where we really narrowed that down. So we only had 2 people for quite a while. But then when we went through the superintendent, sequential superintendents, that got just passed just to Ryan. But as we stabilize, we should open that up to where we at least have another administrator.
Yeah, I mean,
That would
Ryan
help
gets in
some
a
of
car
those
wreck
pieces.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
we got to redo everything.
Pretty much.
And
That's insane.
We should at least have one more because even if Mark is the administrator, even if he's unaware of how to do some of the things,
You got
we could,
access.
we at least have access, right? Yeah. So we should probably do that, look into that piece. At least so that have backup. Because he's a one-man show, right? He doesn't have anyone
Correct.
else in his office. That's a good point. We should open that back up again.
Well, just have the code.
Yeah.
Jeez. Put a lot of faith in that guy. He'll shut down the whole school one day. He gets pissed.
Where are we?
PSC agreement.
This is the.
Oh, yeah. So why is that listed twice?
It's not.
Oh.
The second one's the teachers.
Is the teacher? I thought the contract was the same when I opened them.
Well, maybe I messed up.
Okay.
Maybe I loaded it twice. I didn't save the other. Who knows?
Or maybe it
Yeah,
popped
I
up
don't know.
on top of the
We'll
other
find
one when
out
I
in a minute.
opened it. So-
This one's definitely the PSC though.
Okay.
I think Tanessa was on this.
Yeah.
You did the Paris.
Oh, yeah.
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 So the first one was the.
Yeah. This one is the first one. I don't know what on the bottom. You guys have seen it. Do you have any questions?
I'm good on that one.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the PSE contract?
Motion to approve the PSC contract.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, cell phones.
All right. Let's see. Which one of these? I think this one is your current policy. That looks weird.
All I know is I couldn't open the second two.
That's weird.
No, I couldn't because it leads you to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one I could open.
Yeah.
All right. So those have to be our current policies, and somehow when I linked them, that didn't work right. But there's two ways around that. Let's go with the policy. What is it? 3245. 3245. Yeah. That is the current policy. I don't.
We don't really do that though, do we?
Do what?
Not let them have their cell phones in class.
Well, that is the rule. But then if you read through that, it says something about teacher discretion and they can't have them. Yeah, with teacher classroom approval, devices, access information. So they can, and teachers do allow them to do so at this point.
So this is problematic. A lot of the research that's coming out on childhood cell phone use at different grade levels has identified several major problems. Conflict resolution skills lacking is one of them. Attention span deficit disorder is another one. And the OSBI has recently come out, I think 2 weeks ago, with some guidance on that, giving school board authority to craft new policies or modify existing policies in that regard. I think it's, from what I understand, when this policy first came out, it was kind of problematic enforcing that, right? And a lot of the problems I think they're really multifaceted issues. And as an educator myself and a researcher, I think it's important to make data-based decisions on what's best for these kids as far as how do we create a learning environment that facilitates learning, right? Because I think that's kind of where we're here, right? And the OSBI has identified this issue as a major concern. There's other districts all across the state that are going with a bell-to-bell no cell phone policy. And research specifically out in Virginia suggests that has helped improve test scores. It helped us improve behavioral issues. It's helped improve conflict resolution skills. And so really the question is, how do we as a district and as a board begin to look at this issue in a way to draft policies that are constructive and still have a multifaceted approach? And what I mean is, how do we get teachers to give us informational feedback on what they see in their classrooms? What's their opinion on cell phone use? And because some teachers use it as an incentive, and some teachers are against it, from what I've been contacted and communicated to me. So I would suggest that we begin to develop lines of communication with teachers and begin to have discussions about understanding what they think and how they feel about it, and what are some recommendations that they would offer up to us. And then we could look at the research and start to maybe look at this policy and say, what would work for the Mossyrock School District? Is this an important factor in creating that type of interactive educational experience that leads to improved interaction, conflict resolution skills, and test scores? And so that's my thoughts on it. If the policy that we have, I think we probably should lean into a little bit more. But I think moving forward over the next several months, we should start to begin those conversations.
So I don't know, maybe the principals can talk about how we could organize that and how we could get more of that information and get inputs. I know that we'll need to be thinking about it from a school perspective, but we'll also have to include our community, because I also know that there's parents that are adamant that they shouldn't have their cell phones, but there's also quite a few parents that are adamant that they want their kids to have cell phones in, in case of emergency, in case of, quite a few different things, yeah. And so we'll probably have to go through that whole period, but I think, we should probably start and see talk to the principals and have them work with their teachers and figure out what would be the best method to start approaching this on developing our process as we go forward.
There's one other piece to that as well, and that's teacher use of cell phones during instructional hours. We all have our devices sitting on the tables, and I understand they're an important part of modern society. And so, but also I think part of that piece and that conversation is what's an appropriate level of teacher use on that with those devices during instructional hours as well.
You're looking at me, is that a direct question?
No, that's
No,
a
I think
rhetorical question.
Okay.
And working with the principals
Yeah.
on how to address all of this is what's a good
How many
way
minutes per day can they be on it?
to organize.
You
and
really
then
want my
shut it
opinion
down.
on that?
That's why we need 360-degree conversations, so we can begin to understand how do we craft effective policies.
I suggested cell phone lockers, but
And that's what a lot of schools have gone to that have changed their cell phone
especially if it was
policies.
like, I know they make Faraday cage ones where they won't ring or nothing.
Yeah.
They're just-
They make charging ones too, which offer kids incentive to get their phones charged.
Yeah, that's what they
Figure
do.
it's smart.
Good use for old microwaves.
There you go.
I still am for the jammer. That's
Yeah, I don't think
still my
that's quite
opinion.
legal.
I know you said it wasn't, but that's still my opinion.
And honestly, like for teacher usage, there are some teachers that need to use their cell phones throughout the day.
Unless we get walkie-talkies.
Situations. Me being one of them.
Yeah.
So can you give us a brief understanding of,
So if I'm out on the playground with two students, one decides to run and I'm trying to get them back into my classroom, if I don't have that support, I need to call for backup.
sure,
So unless we have some secure walkie-talkies that don't talk to the truckers driving by, we need to have access to some sort of communication device. And me screaming at the top of my head to get assistance is not gonna work.
right, I understand that. Have you, and this is kind of an interesting, confidential question, I'll ask it anyway. One of the things I try personally to believe is the honor system, and especially with teachers. And some teachers I've substituted in different districts around the third district myself, to different school districts. And I've noticed some teachers use them for personal activities. Most teachers don't. And so as we move forward in addressing the concerns that you just mentioned, articulated to us about having that tool, is how do we have an honor mechanism that allows other teachers to look at teachers that aren't doing that and say, hey, listen, this is a privilege and it's a tool that we need. So let's preserve this by using it what it's supposed to be used for.
And I feel that if you looked at all the teachers in the district, they would look at me and say, yep, she needs her phone.
Right. So let me ask one more question. So you've never seen any teachers like scrolling on their phones when they're supposed to be instructing in the classroom here at the school district?
I don't have the time to go walk into other teachers' classrooms to go see what they're doing on their phones.
Right.
But I can honestly tell you that I don't have the time to do that, even if I wanted to.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate your honesty.
It's the kids that talk. That's where you hear that. Is listening to the kids.
And I think that illuminates the complexities of this
Right.
question.
But if you guys have the funding to get us some personalized walkie-talkies that are just to the district, I'd be more than willing to use those if you guys don't want us to use the phones. But I don't feel comfortable.
Because I never run it.
We didn't say do not use the phones. Do not leave the
No.
board meeting and say,
Yeah, that's
said.
not what we're saying.
And I would prefer,
Yeah, don't say that.
I would prefer having walkie-talkies for all of the teachers that need, so like my students included going into the beginning of class, those teachers being able to get a hold of me
Right.
in case of an emergency, like my kids having a dysregulated event, they need my support ASAP. It's quicker to grab a walkie-talkie and call, but the walkie-talkies that we currently have, they're open.
Yeah, it's an open channel. You know, I'm not against, and I want to be very clear about that, I'm not against teachers using and having access to cell phones because I think it's already a ready communication device that's already being paid for and utilized. What I'm trying to understand is, and that's why we're having these conversations, is how do we create an effective learning environment for our students? How do we support teachers so they can do the best job that they can for the students? And so part of that is having these hard conversations about, you know, how do we lean in to help you? How do we provide the tools that you need in order to teach and create those dynamic learning environments? And so we're on the same team. That's why we're having this conversation.
I would say on that note, I would prefer a walkie-talkie as well because, like you're saying, we don't always have our phones handy because we don't use them often. But I, in particular, have a student that moved in that is a runner, and I wasn't able to get a hold of Mr. McConnell because he was pulled to the learning center, and I can't follow a kid, keep that kid safe, know where he's going, and then have 18 other kids in my room.
Right.
So I think that it would be a lot more successful for us to have a system in place where we can access people promptly.
And it's faster, instead of trying to get through your phone to call a number that you don't know.
No, we had when we were kids, they had a old fashioned radio.
So I would suggest again, as we start these conversations, is to push that, continue to push that information forward. And so we can get together and have these conversations and understand, you know, what the needs are. Ask some of your fellow teachers. What's the best way to handle this? What's the best way to communicate with walkie-talkies, cell phones, you know, so?
And also, like, Joseph, like, how many walkie-talkies do you need?
Like probably a number of specialists, like that's what we were talking with him. He's completely disconnected from the elementary. So if he has any issues with kids in my class or whatever, or, you know, like the high flyers, that anybody that has a high flyer in their room would need one. And then also probably our specialists that have those kids
Basically every teacher.
on rotation.
Yeah,
But how do you,
Potentially.
basically every teacher, because
so if you have a runner, then the whole, everybody's walkie-talkie goes off?
No, I would say that.
How do you?
You
run
say
it?
on a walkie-talkie and you just use a language and it would be.
Shoot.
I'm an elementary principal. It's my first thought. Like you asked, like, does every teacher need one? And then does it just constantly go off in their classroom and disrupt the learning? I think it was your question.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. What I have seen used, and I think it would need to be separate to our admin walkie-talkies that I think was brought up as that cannot be disrupted for safety and security reasons. They have to be separate to that because that's how we manage our evacuations, our lockdowns, our active shooter, active violence things, right? But when it comes to the classroom ones, having a separate round so that it is classroom management, it is, you know, building level stuff. That in the classroom, it's on the charger and its volume is off. It's turned down all the way, but it's on, so it's ready to go. All the teacher needs to do is pick it up and use it, and then turn the volume up if they need a response. So then those that are not in a classroom can then respond and have the
That
volume
seems
up, right, like me.
That's never
What do you mean?
gonna happen. Like, it's always gonna be off or on, that's gonna be one.
Well, there's
but
also
for the
basic-
teachers,
basic-
they'll use it as they need.
We would already have that.
Let's hear from a teacher.
So you're calling the principal? when you need-
Yeah, when you need support.
Okay.
Kids would
I
never.
didn't know if you're calling another teacher that you needed support from.
No,
it would
I
be
mean, if we had an SEL teacher, I would call them.
Yeah.
It's him. Just get to call him.
Right. Gotcha.
We can also do basic phones with no internet. Right?
Like a flip phone? I don't sell those, I worked on bases.
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't have cameras and stuff.
Yeah. So I think there's options, but I think the one thing I truly believe that in our society now that all the teachers need to have a method to communicate.
Right.
Because from a security point, we need all eyes on the ground watching out for things that are happening and be able to immediately communicate. So, working on the honor system, I think is.
So we need like a walkie-talkie holder next to the door or something in every classroom, pretty much. On this.
Yeah.
And I mean, how often is there gonna be a severe safety situation? I mean, we have a few runners in the gen ed. I have several runners in my classroom, several violent kids in my classroom. So yes, I'm gonna need it more often, which could be a set channel for me and my staff. But, you know, in the gen ed piece of that, yeah, having them have a channel for if they need immediate assistance.
Anyway, all good ideas. So as we go through this, as Mitch is saying, let's keep track of them and start working towards a plan. Because I think it would be good if we as a school district can kind of come up with what we would want to do, and then we would need to take it to the community to roll it out. Because any type of cell phone limitation, we're going to have to get buy-in from our community. Not that we can't push through some changes that we know would be better for the students overall and the learning aspect, especially as we're, you know, always trying to figure out better ways for our students to learn. You know, we can push that through, but that is a whole scope that, you know, it's a broad part of society now that will need to be inclusive of the community also.
So no, we're not banning cell phones.
Not
So
yet.
when you leave here, we're just starting a discussion on
Yeah.
what's the best way to handle it.
I'm not opposed to banning cell phones,
Yeah.
but we just need to be able to communicate with each other.
Mhm.
I don't need my cell phone half the time. I don't know where it is. But when I'm at school, it is on my hip.
So Mark will work with the principals to start the discussions. Probably as soon as you've got the core curriculum up and running. Oh.
Oh, no, I
Okay,
lost
our
him.
Narcon policies.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't see any major changes past years. Do you know of any major changes in those from past years?
I don't know of any. It was brought to my attention. It doesn't specifically address it in there, was what I was thinking.
Including those that needed it as well, I think they're
Ready to go.
26, 27, like including specialists and others. Like that. I need to get them, definitely.
Include parents.
Like those, yeah. like
So,
pairs with,
under this policy, there's not anything that I can see that is, oh, that's going to do that same thing.
Yeah, so,
It
yeah,
doesn't specifically address Narcan. So that's, this being the first reading, we don't necessarily need to go to there. If you want to look that policy up, I just want to bring it to our attention. We probably need to put something in place that specifically outlines what we do with Narcan. Because we do have Narcan on campus. We have several packs of them.
Has training been provided to staff?
Those of us who've had CPR, and that is a pretty large number, not extensive, but there I know that all the bus drivers and several paras and a few teachers and all the coaches should all have that. I don't know. I don't know if the administrators, I had it, but I don't remember if Chris or Lori had that. But if they had recent CPR, then they've had the Narcan piece. But it just doesn't appear anywhere as Narcan in our medication piece. So we just need to update that.
does OSPI have a
Model?
suggested wording? So maybe,
I didn't see one yet, but again, was a lot going into this meeting tonight,
Yeah.
so I'll try to find a
try to
model
see if there's
policy. Yeah.
something. Okay.
So mostly just wanted to get it on the table. Same with this. This is an issue that came up at our superintendent's meeting. I hope that takes me. Some people had questions about continuity and cutting down on paperwork. This is just a model policy of being able to use electronic signatures, which we do use electronic signatures, but we don't have a policy governing that. So also, this is one we need to think about and decide, is it something we need? We do have a number of people who provide their contracts and things through DocuSign, and we do sign off on them, but there's no policy And so this again is just a more for your information, and maybe put it back on the next meeting as well. Unless you have questions about it. Okay. So that one's different than what you saw, Denise? Yeah, it is different. You had been worried. This is different than the other one. This one's certified. You need to scroll through it.
Go all the way to the bottom.
All the way to the bottom.
See the matrix real quick.
Oh, what has happened?
Just make sure that was. Go back up a little bit there. Just make sure, read the title of the matrix. Right there. Okay.
Stop here.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I don't know why mine was pulling it the same way. I did it like 4 times.
Problem. It's a technology problem.
Okay. Okay, so this is the certified staff contract.
Make a motion to approve.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion to approve. Okay. Contract.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The high cap agreement?
Yeah, it's pretty standard, same as it was last year.
I didn't realize we did that with Adna. Did we do that
Admin
last
does
year?
it, yeah. We did it last year
And
too.
what- And so we don't have somebody here doing that? Okay.
We do have somebody doing it. This is a consortium where they come together. There's some meetings and some things that they collaborate and do some stuff and bring a
So
presenter.
what did they do last year?
I questioned it last year and I was told that they wanted to do it. And then honestly, I'm just going to tell you, I dropped off my radar until today when it got, it kind of came to my face and realized that you have to give them a 30-day notice to get out of it. I was going to cancel it. I wasn't going to pay. It's only $700,
I know, but
but
what are we getting from it?
well, that's the same question I asked last year, and what I kind of told you is what the answer was that I got, and the high cap person wanted to continue it. So we do have a different high cap person this year, and I spoke with them today, and they're supposed to give me feedback as to whether or not it has value, so that as soon as they determine it has any value for them, then I can get out of it before the 30-day marker. And that's on me for not, because it was my full intention to drop out of this because I couldn't see the $700 value. Again, it's $700, but it's $700.
So they were
There's some
supposed to be
value.
providing program materials to our high cap person here so that they didn't have to redevelop those type of things.
So
So Adna was supposed to be pulling it together and.
And Adna does have a pretty well-developed
Well,
high cap
yeah.
Right.
program with the robotics.
And I think that's why they are the
Yeah,
drivers.
and so we were supposed to be getting from them
Who's our high cap this year?
Jody Biggs.
kind of the structured documentation of, I don't know, like lesson plans or activities that we could have our high cap students doing
Sure.
instead of having to organize them all ourselves.
Right. And from my understanding, because I did go and talk with Mrs. Schubert, who's the high cap teacher over there, and they have robotics in the elementary, and then they have all of the kids going in the elementary doing robotics, and they're kind of teaching them to be able to test for high cap instead of just expecting them to go in and take an high cap test with not having any information on how to take those kinds of tests. So.
Well, I know the first year we did it, it was that Adna had a really good program.
Right.
And we're doing a lot of the work already.
Yeah.
Well, if anything changed here, then it was worth it. If nothing changed, then it's a waste of money.
I concur with that.
Because it's
yeah,
4 half-day meetings. Adna will attend 2 superintendent's meetings per school year to update the superintendent on activities. Did they do that?
I remember one,
Okay.
but
And then
I'm
they'll be
also-
available for questions. And that seems pretty, unless we're really utilizing them. Just a waste.
And that's why I've put it on the high cap teacher's
So we
radar
would
to
be
give me
good for next
feedback.
year if we weren't gonna do it.
Yes.
Like,
Well, by
in-
the contract, we were supposed to let them know within 30 days and we're past the marker.
So,
Right.
but this is something that Jody Pitts could do.
She's
by
good
herself.
doing,
She's going to be doing herself.
right.
well, we have a high cap person here, which is just, but we were utilizing this to get ideas from.
Yeah, they actually,
So we've always-
well, originally they provided the actual like worksheet and activity packets. They had some kits for lower level, elementary students. They had kits when I had looked at it, several years ago when they started that. And so they had those kits that they passed out. And then for the older kids, they had more activities that was organized for what they were doing. And, so I don't know what's being provided right now, so
Well, I
that
mean,
would be a
like,
good
just
question
based
to
off of the
ask.
contract it's
Right.
pretty minimal.
Yeah,
It's pretty minimal, even if we're getting everything that's in
yeah,
there.
so if they're not actually getting some of that stuff, then it probably doesn't make sense. But if they're still getting some of that stuff, it probably does make sense.
Who was
because-
last year's?
Hadler, Melanie.
Oh, did you ask her if she?
I asked
did
her
them?
like at the very beginning of last school year. I mean, and it's been a lot of uphill learning in that one year. And this dropped off my radar after we talked about it.
So we might want to ask her too, what she did get last
Yeah,
year.
what happened last
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
And see what it is.
So we're on the hook
Oh,
for
Fiona
700?
also. Yeah. What?
We're on the hook for 700.
What did
I
you
believe
get?
we are on the hook for 700 to stay clean, based on how I understand it. And that's my bad for dropping the ball.
Motion to approve the high cap agreement with that.
Second.
Did we want to get some of that information first?
You want to go for that?
Well,
We're on the
well,
hook
we
for
can't,
700.
I mean, it's
aren't we?
past the 30,
Yeah,
he
we're-
said,
Yeah.
so we have to do it.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, well, for
it's
next year,
due,
but I
right.
mean, if we're past it, then there's not anything, right? Or I guess that's what I'm sorry, that's what I heard him say.
That's how I understand it. I may have misread, but that's what I understood.
Well, and just as a community member, my daughter was in high caps in Adno, not last year, but the year before. And it is a very good program if done correctly.
Oh, and here we go. I misread it. We can terminate with 30 days notice. I misread
Okay,
it.
well then, okay, so then.
So we can do it
approve
anytime. So you can pass it now, and if we find it's useless, we can give them 30-day notice.
Let's go ahead and
Yeah,
just bring it back to the next board meeting. and
Okay.
If you can ask our teachers what they're getting from it.
Okay. And
Yeah,
Before we
after
do
we have
that,
our
would that put us on the hook for $1,400 then?
no, it's $700 for the entire year. So did anybody second?
No,
Okay.
we did, but then she said, we
I
don't need
didn't
to, if we
call
don't need
for
to
a vote.
approve it,
We
then
didn't
we
need
just
to
put it on
rescind.
the,
Yeah, I don't think so. 'cause I
Meeting
didn't
Since
call
no,
for a
there was no
vote.
second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever.
Just making sure. Okay. Okay.
Okay, we do need a motion for executive session, probably for at least 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Three names on the new hire, is that correct? Darren,
Yes.
Samantha,
That's correct, buddy.
Huh?
Motion to go into executive session until 9:30.
That's
Second.
totally fine.
Yeah, I get it.
You need a second.
Yeah, do we have a second? All in favor?
I.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I motioned and I seconded, yeah.
So,
Hey, thanks for
Bye,
coming.
thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming.
I'll call and see if there's